chance to be ruthless.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. They don't wanna see me care. Anytime I make some progress, I can see that they compare. I think everyone's against me, maybe something in the air. Am I paranoid? I swear a void is forming and they're scared. I walk a straight path, not many can say that. I like to play fast, cross me and there's payback. You better pray that I don't see your face at any place that I go. I know you hate that. I've been doing fine, I'm not wasting any more time. I live for the fight and the climb, and I think that the pain that's deep inside is what defines. So I won't give up, I'm gonna make it to the top. I don't care what's in my way, I swear I'm never gonna stop. I could fall flat on my face and I swear I will get back up, cause I don't deserve a thing and the road ahead is tough. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.
Well, good evening, folks, and good evening, John.
Good evening, Ben. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm as well can be, considering the circumstances of my day, which I will not share in this lovely show. But John, you know the gory details, so I'm as well as can be, shall we say?
As well as can be expected.
As well as can be expected after
Indeed.
some additional medication, shall we say? So how are you?
Yes, well, I'm kind of sharing in some of your pain.
You are,
Yeah.
you are.
I think it was
Put it
self-inflicted
this
on my side, though.
Yeah, from what you told me, I think you could well be right. Right, now, before we get on to tonight's agenda, some housekeeping out of the way. I can see that there are some people watching over there on Twitter, so good evening to you folks as well. You're only getting the first 30 minutes of the show.
Hello, Twitter. Bye, Twitter.
So after the first 30 minutes of the show, the remainder can be seen right over on the YouTube channel. The link is directly underneath you. So just go and take a look there. And
it's a gratuitous attempt to try and drive more traffic to the channel. That's all it is.
It is. It is.
We'll not tell lies to you. We will not try and hide things from you. We'll tell you the truth.
And the second bit of housekeeping out of the way is to do with the chat, which is now moving so fast that we can't, unfortunately, and it's nothing on anybody in the chat, we can't keep trying to focus on that whilst we're trying to do the show. So we're going to go to the chat at the end, and if you want to guarantee that you get your message read out, stick a little super chat in, and it will pin itself to the top, and it will pin itself to a little area that we can go and look at.
And remember,
but otherwise,
should you wish a message to be held immediately, they're read out live as soon as you put one in Ko-fi.
Indeed. So anyhow, with that in mind, John, what's on the agenda for tonight?
Yes, and basically the chat thing is because we cannot yet afford a dwarf.
No, we can't afford a lot of things.
We can't afford to feed ourselves properly. Hence eating 4-year-old food. Anyway.
Yep.
So I thought tonight we've got quite a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got to talk about those messages on WhatsApp.
We do.
Want to talk a bit about, maybe touch on Tate. Touch on Tate.
I want to talk about 007.
You want to talk about 007. I want to talk about black and white. And I don't mean in a racial way.
Nope.
I think we need to talk about civil servants that aren't.
Yes.
Traveling on small aircraft, always dangerous.
Yep.
Didn't work out well. It
rarely does.
Still at it.
Still at it.
And
Randy old bugger.
And when I say orcas, I don't mean Lizzo. But let's start with the thumbnail. That's a lovely picture, isn't it? And
it's beautiful.
That's Manhattan Henge, which occurred yesterday, and I think today, which is when the setting sun lines up with the grid pattern in New York City. And I think from round about, I think it's like 30th Street up to 151st or something, you can watch the sun set along the line of the street. Pretty cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty wonderful. And I bet it is pretty. Now, for all of you who have been watching that, or you're a few hours behind us now, so you could still be about to watch that, remember, do not stare directly at the sun. It will be bad for your vision. Look, these are New Yorkers. I feel like I need to say.
Try not look at the carnage that's going on around you as well. Anyway,
stop voting blue.
With that in mind, I'd like to welcome you to this episode 223 of Chasing Dissent Live with me, John, and with Ben.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave.
Well, there we go. So, what shall we start with?
Where do you want to start? Come on, John.
Well, let's start.
Take us on a journey.
Let's start with these. Let's start with the WhatsApp messages. So it would appear that our government, which you have to think would have some kind of secure messaging system,
Of course not.
have not bothered using it. And just gone for WhatsApp like the rest of the planet. So, okay. So the government have been transferring messages between themselves using WhatsApp. And, okay. But now they've been required to provide these messages as part of the inquiry, haven't they? And initially,
yes, as part of the COVID inquiry, yes.
Yeah, and initially they said you're not getting them because they're not relevant. None of them are relevant. None of them? Yes, I don't believe that.
Well, I don't believe it either, because at the end of the day, I can tell you exactly why they've been using WhatsApp just like everybody else. Got bloody hair in my mouth.
Because they're lazy?
My own hair. No, it's because, have you ever seen a government digital infrastructure program that actually works?
No.
No, you haven't. They make all of these computer programs and digital infrastructure, and it doesn't work. So
you know what? I'm going to sound like an old fuddy-duddy here, but
right,
Blackberries worked.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and yet,
I mean, you don't sound like a fuddy-duddy. That's just a fact.
Blackberries worked, and Blackberries did a great job up until BlackBerry caved.
Yep.
And I think the first country they caved to was Saudi Arabia, and gave them a back door. And after
good old
that,
Saudi.
After that, nobody was ever going to use a BlackBerry again because they now had back doors.
Well, exactly right. And like I say, good old Saudi. They're trying to reinvent themselves at the moment, aren't they? Good old country. Good old Saudi.
Well,
trying to reinvent them.
I did mention Saudi today when we spoke this morning. Because I find it strange that everybody's up in arms about Uganda still, and nobody mentions Saudi Arabia, which is even more
exactly
draconian laws.
I'll tell you why. Because the US look at the Saudi Arabia as a friendly nation because oil.
Not just stopping oil in the US. No.
And imagine just stop oil turning up in Uganda or Saudi Arabia. Imagine them turning up in Saudi. You wouldn't see them again. You wouldn't. Persephone, where are you going, Persephone? Oh, mummy, I'm going to protest in Saudi Arabia. And then that's it. Radio silence. You never hear from Persephone again.
No, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't. That'd be that.
Oh. Yeah. So apparently though that I think there's some juicy stuff in these WhatsApps that's going to.
Of course there is.
From Bojo.
Right. Well, remember these are Boris's WhatsApps as well, right?
Yeah.
So not only are they going to be juicy stuff that's probably going to sink Sunak. There's probably going to be 6 or 7 bits on the side in there as well.
They're going to be politically incorrect, aren't they?
They're going to be politically correct, and there's going to be messages to Judy over there. Oh, Judy, I do like the way you look at me across the desk.
Hey Liz, how about a rematch?
How about a rematch? I tell you what, Angela wasn't wrong when she said she was going to show me her ginger growler.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah. So there you go. So yeah, but the managed to lose his diary apparently. And the excuse,
of course,
the excuse was lame, and was just lamer than a very lame thing, wasn't it? We lost it.
Dog ate my homework.
No, we lost it. We lost
it. Can't find it.
No,
all gone.
Not even the dog ate it, or a big boy took it and ran away. We just lost it.
No,
lost it.
Yeah. Well, that's what this is government for you. This is government for you. And their entire aim on this planet is to feather their own nest and control the population. And they don't want you to find out how they're doing that and what they're doing behind the scenes. They don't
Nudge
keep
units
records.
Yes. Oh, things will come out. We don't want things to come out.
Don't want things to come out. I especially don't want things to come out of my WhatsApps because they're definitely not going to show 6 or 7 affairs. Not going to happen. No, not at all. It is probably going to happen. You're going to probably find WhatsApps between Boris and like Judy in HR or something.
Yeah. So there you go. So is that
there
put
you
paid
go,
to the WhatsApp
indeed.
thing? Just watch
I
this
think
space
so.
and we'll report on it as it gets released.
Well, like I said, they've been handed over. The cabinet office now have them.
Yeah.
So, do we think that the COVID inquiry is going to be a whitewash?
Yes.
Probably.
Why?
Probably.
Why is it going to take until 2026 when Sweden's had theirs done and dusted?
I'll tell you why it's going to take them till 2026, because there's so many things they've got to work out how to get out of, and there's so many things they've got to work out how to explain away, that it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time.
I think you're right, my man. I think you're right.
Remember, it's not just about...
Speaking about time, it's running out for Romania.
Running out for the West.
No, well, yes, we know that. The sands of time for the West are indeed probably setting. But it's running out for Romania because they're going to have to make a decision on that young man, aren't they? Andrew Tate.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So Andrew Tate has not actually seen a single day of quote-unquote freedom at all. Neither has Tristan Tate in the year 2023. They were arrested, weren't they, in December?
Yep.
And they were held in prison for two and a half months or something like that, and then they were released to house arrest. And when it reaches the 6-month mark, which is at the end of this month, next month, the end of June, they have to make a decision as to either charge him or release him.
And they haven't even come up with charges yet.
No, this is the thing. Like, you see all these big podcasts like Ethan Klein and H3H3 celebrating all this and, directly calling him things like a human trafficker, saying, he's finally been arrested. Look, the human trafficker's finally been caught. And at the end of the day, like you say, he's not actually been charged with anything at this point. Now, let me.
And really, most free countries in the world tend to work on the basis that you're supposed to be innocent until you've been proven guilty. And therefore, just being arrested and even charged with someone doesn't indicate that you did it.
No, it doesn't. Even a charge does not indicate guilt. It's just an allegation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, I charge that you did this, sir. And obviously, we've got to the point now where Tate himself has been tweeting, and he's given some options of what can happen here. He's either going to be, completely let off and let free and let go without charge. That's one option.
Yeah.
The next option, he's going to be charged, but he will still have to be released from custody, regardless.
Yeah.
With something that he says they will fabricate against him.
Right.
He says that. I'm not reiterating that as a statement of fact. I just don't know what's gone on.
So option one is they just drop the case, right? And he's free to go.
Yeah.
And go about his business. Option two is he is charged and a case is set for trial. Right? In which case he still has to appear and defend himself, regardless of which charges
he does.
Regardless of which charges are levied against him. And option three would be what?
I'll tell you, these are what he said. If they charge me with an empty bullshit file, it'll still take me a year to beat, and it allows them to save face.
Right. So he thinks they're going to fabricate a case, and then it's going to fail, but they're still going to say, well, there was a case, but his lawyers, his Megabucks lawyers beat us. It's not
that's basically.
It's not that he's not guilty. It's just we couldn't get enough evidence to prove he was.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's called not guilty. Because
Now, I don't know.
I think there's only one country in the world, which stupidly I live in, that has 3 verdicts. You know that? Because you don't get this in England. You're either guilty or not guilty in England, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 verdicts can be levied in Scotland. There's not guilty, there's guilty, and there's not proven. which is basically saying, we know you did it, but we can't prove it. Which, why do you need it? Because if you can't prove it, then, you're basically not guilty, are you not?
Well, I would say so. I would say that's
but
true.
Not in Scotland.
Well, because you live in a psycho country that will charge you with a crime and prosecute you if somebody doesn't like an uncouth joke you tell in your own home across your own dinner table.
Well, needless to say, I'm probably on a list for some of the stuff I've said on here.
I would say so. I'd say you're probably on a watch list for simply having a laugh and speaking some truth. And facts are inconvenient these days. They are inconvenient because the only thing that matters in this world is narrative. That's where we are.
I think you're right, Ben, and I think actually that leads on to my next point quite nicely, because this is something that started to really, really annoy me, and it's the fact that people are seeing things in black and white. Okay?
Yeah, and I'm going to sit back and listen.
Yeah, well, it seems to be that what's happening is that people they take a particular course or side, if you will, right? And then they will not brook any argument against their side, regardless of whether they think there's anything in it or not. So they just go down this very binary route, and I use that term completely honestly, this very binary route of yes or no, black or white.
Yeah.
And that's not right, because as you mature and as you gain experience in life, you realise that the world isn't black and white.
It's very nuanced.
It's very, very colourful. And it has a whole scale of different, of difference between black and white. So to me, and I think this is quite well summed up by the way children think. Because when you think about children and when you deal with children, and your children are probably right at this age, Ben, it's black or white. It's either this or that, There's no in between with them. It's either
correct,
I'm happy and this is good, or it's a full-blown meltdown, right? There's no in between, So if you say yes to this and they're happy, that's fine. If you say no to that and you say, but if you do this, they don't hear the but if you do this thing. They just go, bang, it's a no. So it's black and white. And that's what people are behaving like when they're picking sides. And there are no sides. And you know what? That's the thing that gets me. This is the thing that really gets me, because it's like, you say something like, if you deliberately target civilian populations, right? That, I believe, is considered a war crime.
I believe so.
Right? Because you're not targeting a strategic target or a tactical target. You're targeting a civilian population. So if you try and target a civilian population, that's a war crime, right?
I would hope so.
But all these people on one side say, no, it's not, because they're not civilians. How can one country's civilians not be civilians?
Well, I'll tell you why, because and this can actually relate back to the events of the last 3 years, and I'll choose my words as I use them, because a certain sect of the population or a certain group of people, and it's these civilians and also some people who didn't have a medicine, shall we say, right? They were maligned, they were othered, they were dehumanized, and they were wished harm upon.
Yes, they
And
were.
it becomes socially and morally acceptable within these groups and within these people who can only think binary, as you say, to look at these people as less than human, as something that is. It doesn't matter whether or not they are taken away from this planet, because they're not human, they're not moral, they're not righteous, they're not good. Regardless,
I've got another example of a bit.
Go
of
for
this, and that's Kayleigh McMenemy.
Yep.
Now, she, in my eyes, was a star while she was press secretary
I agree.
for Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump has spoken out against her somewhat. And there's a whole stooshy now about how she's a traitor, how she just used them, you know. But again, is this not part of the nuance of being involved in that kind of system? Because what she's saying now is he's had his day effectively, and he's not really the best candidate.
Do you know what? I agree.
I agree with that. I mean, I've said that. I've said that as well. I don't think he's the best candidate for the Republican Party. I don't think he's the best candidate for America now. I think he's had his day.
I think you're right.
But if you say that to someone who's a Trump supporter, you're back in that binary black and white thing. And it's exactly the same with Biden, you know. I mean, you can't say anything against Biden and his alleged misdealings with, let's just say, corrupt European countries, right? You can't say anything about that.
Joe Biden's a saint, because Joe Biden's a saint.
So this is the thing that gets me. And the thing is, they're now digging up stuff on Kayleigh from 2016 before she worked for Trump, before he was elected.
Of course.
Where she was saying that he's not her guy, you know. But you can change your mind, and when you meet someone and work for them, you get a completely different impression of who they are and what they are. So this is part of growing up. And that's what people need to do. They need to start growing up and listen to both sides of the argument before they start jumping down, oh, it's black or it's white, because that's what's wrong with the world just now. We are dividing ourselves.
Yes.
We are dividing ourselves, and the government don't need to lift a finger to keep us under control, because we're doing it ourselves.
I've said this, and this leads nicely on to another point that I want to make about this subject. It's that the people that do this the most, especially on social media, because I would say this is a phenomenon that's very much heightened by the Twitter and the social media of the world. A lot of these are under the age of 25. And that is a good point to make, because these people, as far as I'm concerned, because the way the Western world especially is right now, and the way both your parents are forced to bring in a wage to keep a house going and things like that, you, under 25s, you have been infantilized. You don't understand you have been infantilized because you have been raised or brought up by your schooling system, education system, whatever, in that way. But these people are not being given the tools, the cognitive tools, to create nuanced opinions, to look at an issue, to look at something and think, well, this is wrong about that, but actually this part about it might actually be okay. So what we could do is we could deconstruct it and see what parts of this issue are good and what parts of this issue are bad, and maybe we focus more on the good parts. But they can't do that. If there's a single piece of bad in something that could ultimately, if tweaked and discussed and talked about and debated, could lead to good, single piece of bad, no, wah, 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 wah. And then we get your Extinction Rebellions, we get your Antifas, we get your Just Stop Oils, you get all of those. Because they're infantilized. They don't have the cognitive capacity to, I think, function in a working world.
Yeah, because they're not growing up. That's a problem. And then they don't want
to.
No,
they're not.
And when you look at young people today, they don't want to work.
Well, no, because they got the participation award.
And and the thing is, but not working's not good for you, because if you're not doing anything, you're really not and when you're not doing anything, you're not doing anything, right? So if all you're doing is sitting watching TikTok, your brain is atrophying. Your muscles are atrophying. You're not doing anything to help yourself. You're going to turn yourself into a creature from Wall-E, and you're going to die young. Because
you are indeed.
I used to see this all the time. People in the police would retire after 30 years service, and they'd be young, relatively young. They'd be in their 50s, 50, 55. And they'd sit back for 2 years and then they'd be dead, because they stopped doing anything and they never had a purpose to live for. You can't stop working. Even when you're not working, you have to work. So
you have to engage your brain.
You have to keep yourself active. And this is part of what we're doing here. Because although we are doing it ultimately to make money, that's what we want to do. We want to make money, but we're trying to make it honestly, because what we're trying to do is deliver you a product that you like and are therefore prepared to pay for. But the difference is we're not asking for the money up front. So you can't call us a grifter by any stretch of the imagination, because we're not getting paid up front. No. Can you?
And to be fair, with the amount of content that we've created over the years, we have never seen what someone in a 9-to-5 would get paid for the work that we've done.
Nothing. I mean,
nothing at all.
I used to be an IT professional, and I basically got paid for doing very little, and I got paid very handsomely for it. And I know certain people who still exist in that sphere just now who get paid handsomely for doing very little. And
for using their jigglers.
But I'm not mentioning names, but that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with the world, because people will take things for doing nothing for it.
Oh, people think, you guys, you just go and sit here and you chat for an hour or a bit. You behind the scenes, we're running 2 channels here. Right, we're running several social media platforms. We're doing all of the promotion. We create all of the thumbnails. We do all of the scheduling. We create John creates pre-rolls all of the time. We have to come up with the subjects. We have to make sure we know what we're on the right page. We have to, so much. There's so much more behind the scenes goes into this than the show that you get. And we're not moaning. We're just telling you.
Friday, when we unveil the next step.
The next step, indeed.
The next Just a taster. Just a taster.
But with that, before we move on to our next topic, if you have been watching on Twitter, thank you very much. But your time has come. And so if you would like to continue to watch the rest of the show, go to the YouTube link that's in the comment underneath what you are watching right now. And see you then. Bye, Twitter. I've turned them off.
Oh, you've done it. Right, okay.
I've done it. They're off.
Bye-bye. Right, anyway, and welcome to YouTube. Should you have just come over from Twitter? Great to see you.
Great to see you. Nice. Nice. Great. You know what? Speaking on, continuing down your theme of, needing to continue to work into old age and keep your brain active Al Pacino's been doing that, hasn't he? He's been working very well into old age. Well, 80 years old now?
82.
I mean, 82 years old. And what has Al Pacino done this week, John?
Well, him and his girlfriend, his 29-year-old girlfriend, are expecting a child.
They're expecting a child. So he's been, oh my God, it brings a whole new meaning to Dunkachino. Have you seen that advert? The say hello to my chocolate blend.
No, I have not. And I don't think
you need to go and see the Dunkin' Donuts adverts that Al Pacino did. He did a rap called Dunkachino.
But anyway, so I feel sorry for the child.
I do. You know what? Whilst obviously it's lovely that there's obviously a new child coming into the world, I think he's a selfish bastard. And the reason I say that is he's 82 years old. By the time this child is 10, probably not going to have a dad.
Well, you can always
Have
watch
all the
him
money in the world.
movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's a bit weird having a child that age, that late.
Well, I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
I just think it's wrong for the child because obviously a child needs to be nurtured, brought up, and have the values of both parents instilled upon them. And if one of your parents is not there because they made a decision to do things at a time where it's pretty much guaranteed they're not going to be there in some of your most important years, I might add, I just think it's selfish. I do.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, I'll tell you a story. Me and my wife were thinking about, and we actively started trying for another child recently. But we have changed our minds. And the reason there's several reasons we've changed our minds. One is satanic kids we've already got, right? But secondly, as I deteriorate year on year and get more and more ill, is it not selfish for me to bring a young child into the world that I can't do much with?
Possibly.
I think it is, and I think it's bad for the child because children need both their parents, and children need both their parents to be as full-on active and involved as possible, as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, it's very clear. It's very clear when you look at studies and things like that, that children who have both their parents in the home do better in life than children who don't.
Yeah, they do. They do. And that's just an inconvenient fact, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You know, that's what it is.
But other than that, Mr. Pacino, I hope, having said all that, Mr. Pacino, I hope the child is happy, healthy, and well looked after.
So, speaking of people that bring children into this world,
okay,
what about Dr. Morris Workman?
Go for it.
So he was a guy, he was a fertility specialist, do you remember? Who was alleged, or is alleged, to have secretly fathered thousands of children through his fertility clinics. So he died recently in a small plane crash.
He did. Do you think it's self-inflicted?
Are you reading?
No.
You look distracted.
Something popped up on my screen and my screen went blare, so I turned it off.
Right. Anyway, so it's it shows you the problems of traveling in small aircraft and possibly hot tubs.
Well, I will say this. I believe that the kids, a bunch of the kids, got together and were suing him.
Yeah, I think he was going to get. Do you think it was? It might have been. It might have been self-inflicted. I don't know.
That's what I. You know what? If my mind were more conspiratorial, if I were, as Brent Lee says, a conspiracist, which we have now determined I am not. But if I were, that is where my mind would go. It would go towards, is this, oh my God, everything is done, my life is over, my life is ruined, this is the way out.
Well, that's possible. That is possible.
I do think possibly it is. And this is just conjecture, ladies and gentlemen. Conjecture.
So,
conjecture.
On a lighter note, okay? Tell me about this Indian official.
So, an Indian official recently lost his mobile phone, didn't he, John?
He was taking a selfie at a dam.
Taking a selfie at a dam. Indian government official dropped his phone in the dam.
Yeah.
What did he do, John? What did he do? As an Indian official, what did he do?
Well, first of all, he sent down a team of divers to try and get the phone back. And they couldn't find it.
Right. So what a great waste of public money there.
Yeah. So he then hired a diesel pump and pumped the contents of the dam into a nearby canal. which he then and he then found his phone, which was a Samsung and was no longer working.
So it was one of these.
Water resistance does not mean waterproof.
Well, exactly. IP68 water resistant, which is on my Samsung S23 Ultra. I can swim around in a pool with it for 20 minutes, no problem. Filming and everything.
Yeah.
But then you take it out and you dry it.
Yeah.
Because if you leave it down there, eventually the pressure, the water will get in. Now, I will address the chat this one time because Shalini says, think he's been sacked.
He has been sacked.
Yeah, he has been sacked. And one more time. But...
Although he got sacked not for draining the dam, right? He got sacked for draining the dam without permission. Right? But he did say in his defence that he did ask casually another official to do with the dams. And he said, yeah, you could pump some water into the canal and that would help the farmers, the local farmers anyway, because they're getting a bit short of water. But I think he overstretched. Pump some water into. Let's just drain this sucker all the way to the bottom.
Or as Donald Trump would say, let's drain the swamp.
Let's empty the swamp.
But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, just to reiterate, we were talking earlier. First of all, could you please leave likes if you're enjoying this? We would really appreciate that. And share the video. Second of all, you've noticed we have not been going to the chat tonight. There is a reason for that, because the chat's moving faster and faster each week, and it takes us out of the flow of the show. So we are going to come to the chat at the end of the show. And if you want to guarantee you get messages read out, then please feel free to leave a super chat. And that will be ready for reading at the end. But otherwise, John, let's get on with the show, Mr. Bond.
Yeah, okay, go for it then. Go for it. Go for the Bond.
So,
Brooke Bond.
Producers on the 007 franchise have said the next James Bond will not be white. So, I don't know why they've said this, but they've made this statement. The next James Bond will not be white. And a lot of people are turning around, and I say, even you said it to me earlier, that means, why does he have to be black? And I don't think that's what was said, right? Because everybody assumes, oh, that means it's going to be a black guy. It just means it's going to be a non-white guy. It could be, imagine a full-blown Japanese James Bond. Hello there, Miss Moneypenny.
Why?
For comedy purposes, John. But anyway, this got me on to thinking.
Yeah, go on.
And I'm going to tell you now, and this is my opinion. And so don't think of this as sensationalist or anything like that.
Excuse me.
But I think that this consistent race swapping of characters that only goes in one direction is racist. Now, not in the way, because I know a lot of people are sitting there thinking, going, yeah, it's racist against white people. No, I don't think it is racist against white people. I think it's racist against minorities. And the reason is that every time they do this, say they make, even Nick Fury is a white character, right? But obviously in the Ultimate Comics, he was a black guy. But every time they race swap these characters,
Nick Fury's
and they make,
white.
Nick Fury's white.
Is he? He wasn't.
He's a white guy with an eye patch.
He wasn't white.
No, he wasn't white in the movie. No, he was originally white in the comments, right? In the comments.
Does it matter? Anne Boleyn was
in the comics
originally.
But no, the point I'm trying to make here is every time you start race swapping these characters out and you say, well, this white character is now a black character, you're telling the minorities, like Ariel, they could, instead of making The Little Mermaid about Ariel, why not make it about a brand new mermaid and give her own story? Same with this. Why not turn around and say, okay, well, we don't want this 00 character to be white. Fine. So create 009, a brand new character that has his own dispositions, has his own, tasks, has his own ways, and create and launch a brand new action hero.
Right.
For.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. And actually, the 00 thing, I don't think that matters, because 00 is just the designation of the agent, and the agent would change.
I mean, you could still call him 007.
Yeah, you could. I mean, and the 00 thing really doesn't matter. Where it makes a big difference is people when they do things like Ariel, right? Where they've already made it once, and then they make it again. And the reason they make it again is, one, it's just it's cheaper because you don't have to completely rewrite the story. Right, so you don't have to pay loads and loads of writers. They probably pretty much know what they're going to film because they've already done it once. Even if it's animation to live action, it's easier to make something that they've made before than it is to make something original. Okay, perish the thought that they'd come up with something original, because why else do they go back and keep remaking movies? I mean, even John Carpenter's The Thing was a remake of The Thing, from 1950 something. So they keep going back and remaking movies. Now, sometimes they work and sometimes they're really good. Like The Thing remake was brilliant, but then they go and do it again, and then it fails miserably. There's no point. You get to a point where just give it up.
The term I like to use, and I actually, once again, I'm just quickly going to go to the chat because I was about to say it, it's the bigotry of low expectations. And what that is telling people of, well, I hate to use the term, but it's the term that they use. So people of colour, that they aren't worthy of their own characters. They aren't worthy of their own stories. If they want someone to look like them on screen and represent them on screen, we'll just give you a hand-me-down. And this is why I think it's racist. I think it's saying that these people are simply not worthy of their own blockbusters and their own franchises. We'll just give you one of ours. And I, for one, think it's ridiculous. I do. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't see why. Obviously, the people writing in these fields now, in Hollywood and in London or whatever, don't have an original thought in their own heads, and so they don't know how to create an original, compelling character. But why not? And I'm sure there are many people out there, many unknown people, who write, Black and Asian and Jewish characters all of the time, and they're probably quite good, quite compelling, and they write their own stories. Give them a chance to write these stories. Give them a chance to create their own characters and create their own blockbusters and franchises. But no, what they do is they turn around and they say, well, we can't be bothered to do that. We're just gonna, we'll make Ariel black. That's what. And I'll give you an example of how this particular thing must be confusing young kids, because Disneyland Paris, and I know I talk about there a lot, they've got the two theme parks, right? Disneyland Park and Walt Disney Studios Park. In Disney, this is true right now. By the way, what I'm about to tell you is absolutely true. In Disneyland Park, you can go and meet Ariel in the Princess Pavilion. You can, and it's the white girl with the red hair, yeah, as you see in the animated movies. In the other park, in Walt Disney Studios, you can now see a show and have a meet and greet with Ariel, the black girl from the movie. How is that not going to confuse kids? This is meant to be the same character that looks completely different in two different parks.
You say that, but so does Ariana Grande. Well, when she started, she looked like Ariel from the first movie, and now she looks like Ariel from the second movie.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Anyway,
but no,
right.
It's racist. They need to stop doing it. And if they really want to give people of color, as they call them, their own movies and blockbusters, I hate it as well, make their own characters.
Yeah.
Do something original. You know, we would
Look.
love something original out of bloody Hollywood. Stop remaking shit. For God's
Would
sake.
you mind your language? It's shocking. You don't need to
I
tone it down.
know.
Right.
I know.
Civil servants that aren't. I did mention this in the preamble. Right. So, one, they don't appear to be very civil. And two, they don't appear to be servants. So, correct me if I'm wrong here, but civil servants' sole jobs is to ease the machinations of government, to apply the laws that have been proposed, voted on, and passed by Parliament and given royal assent, to administer the government, to help in all forms of making this country run. Yeah. So how can civil servants justly go on strike against the law that's been passed?
They can't.
Well, that's
they
what
can't.
they want to do. They're
Well, then
talking about going on strike against the deportation of illegals to Rwanda.
Well, then sack them. Sack them.
Yeah, because you people don't make the rules. You know, if you want to live in a country that purports to be a democracy and has this rule-based method of legislation, then you either follow it or you don't. But you can't make up your mind whether you're going to follow one rule or the other.
No, you can't.
You know, you can't work in an organization that applies those rules and then decide not to apply one particular rule because you don't like it. Yeah, that's not how this works.
No, it's not. And they're essentially trying to be the government. This is what they're doing. And they're basically throwing a fit because they can't get their own way. And once again, we go back to the analogy I made earlier. Wah!
Yeah.
It's what they're doing. And no, civil servants, you are not the government. You are not in charge. And believe me, I don't want to sit here defending this government. I don't want to sit here defending any government. I think they're abhorrent. But at the end of the day, your place is in one place and their place is in another place. And their place is technically speaking above you. So what you need to do is sit back, shut up, and implement what you've been told to implement. If you can't do that, leave.
Do your job. If you don't like your job, go and seek employment elsewhere.
Exactly right, John. You know,
Simples.
We're hiring. We'll pay you nothing, but we're hiring. Imagine hiring a former civil servant and then them sitting there going, well, actually, I don't quite like the way you are presenting yourselves, young men. I'm going to not do this social media work for you because we just go
You're fired.
Off.
You're fired.
Off you go. We do the Donald Trump or the Alan Sugar. We do the finger. You're fired.
Right.
You're fired.
So the US appears to either have lost its way again, right? Or is flying around the South China Sea looking to promote itself and its peculiar brand of world policing. So they've been
Tell you what they're doing.
Apparently they've been buzzed aggressively by a Chinese fighter jet in the South China Sea, right? Now, while the South China Sea doesn't all belong to China, right?
Well, they think it does.
None of it belongs to the United States of America. None of it, right? Okay. So, in fact, the nearest United States territory is 4,000 miles away from the South China Sea.
I think you could be right there, John. I'll tell you what this is, and I'll give you the infantilized version because, you know, once again, most of the general public, not most of the people watching this show, but most of the general public are quite infantilized. This is the USA swinging the extremities between their legs around. This is what this is. just swinging it around, just
Yeah.
going, look, we can do what we want.
Yeah, basically it is.
But-
And I mean, we're back to it. I'm not quite sure why they think they can do this, because I don't think they've got the capability of doing anything at the moment. They're really starting to struggle. It's like the last death throes of empire. It really is.
I'm torn, and I'll tell you why I'm torn. Because we talk all the time and we have a laugh about America installing freedom, right? They come and install you some freedom. But China is one of those countries that needs some freedom. And they do, but it's not the type of freedom that the USA come and install that they need.
Well, it's
they
not the
need
type of, it's not the type of freedom that the US could install, because it would effectively wipe out the majority of the world if they took on China.
I would, of course, and I will tell you this, right? China is a country that I would love to visit, especially Hong Kong.
It's beautiful.
It's a place. It is a place I would love to go, but morally, within myself, I can't bring myself to even think about going there and enjoying myself and seeing all these sights and doing all of the things that I want to do, knowing that the people around me, the people serving me, and the people that I would be, amongst and integrating with are essentially slaves.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in Hong Kong, but when I lived in Hong Kong was effectively Britain.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And it was brilliant. It was a foreign version of Britain, and it'd be much the same for people that lived in India under the Raj. It's a completely different experience from what it would be like now.
Yeah, you're
even,
absolutely right.
Even Rhodesia, places like this, So, and in some respects, I feel that we were due an element of care to the people that we kind of abandoned when we gave Hong Kong back to the Chinese, because we there was no need to give Hong Kong back to the Chinese. But
let me say something extremely.
We gave it back to the Chinese, and we effectively gave all those people who were living under British protection, and we removed them from our protection. So I can understand why you would say, yeah, give them a British passport and let them come here if they want.
Do you know what? I'm going to say something that might sound completely controversial to people, but I'm going to say it. If a few 100,000 or more Hong Kong citizens came and essentially started their own mini Hong Kong in an empty part of Britain, I'd be more than happy to see that. I'd be more than happy to see that if people came and they thrived. And I'm not saying not integrate, but because like you said, John, these people were effectively British beforehand anyway.
Yes and no, right? And this is where we're back into the nuance. It's not black and white though, right? Because many of the Hong Kong Chinese still have family in mainland China.
On mainland China, yeah.
And the problem then becomes that anyone who has family in mainland China is effectively an agent of the CCP. Because they have
I see your point.
They have no compunction about, let's just say, being robust with your family if you don't do as you're told, regardless of where you are. So that then throws the other part as, well, if you do let all these people in, effectively what you're doing is you're letting agents of the CCP into your country. Which is causing problems anyway, because we've seen the thing about the secret Chinese police stations. I mean, there's two in Glasgow. They've
one
got
in Crawley.
They've got them in Crawley, yeah. So the CCP is an insidious organisation, and it makes its citizens part of that by forcing them to
unwittingly.
Do things. Yeah.
Well, this is it.
It's a tricky one. It really is.
When we mock China, And we're not mocking the country and the general public and the people. We are mocking the organization of the Chinese Communist Party and usually Xi Jinping, old Winnie the Pooh himself. But, and there is a but, because remember, this is the country who knocked off the city of Paris.
Brought it up again.
I'll bring it up whenever I can.
But this is the country.
Whenever I can.
It knocks off everything because we gave them carte blanche to do it.
Yeah, but an entire bloody city. They were like, right, let's build our own Eiffel Tower. French architecture. Arc de Triomphe. They built Paris, John.
And you don't think we copy things? I mean, why have we got an obelisk in Washington? That's not, what's an obelisk? It's Egyptian,
an obelisk.
isn't it?
Is an obelisk an entire city? I'm just making a.
It wasn't to scale though.
The center of it's to scale.
The
center of it's to scale.
Not. It's smaller.
It is.
It's the full-size Eiffel Tower.
Yes, they knocked it off proper. Yes, they did.
Okay, well.
I tell you what, if somebody ever installs proper freedom into China, we're going. We're going to fake Paris.
So nobody's going to install freedom in China. If everyone installs freedom in China, then you'll have other problems. We're going to check out a knocked off Paris. Oh,
I want to see it. But I guarantee you, with the way we've spoke and the way we've talked about the CCP, if we tried going to mainland China now, we'd probably be arrested when we land.
Maybe if we took what if we took gifts of honey?
Remember, folks. Apparently, John, your audio is a bit low. But remember, folks. That is one of the few times we're going to chat.
It's only been an hour.
It's only been an hour, yeah.
Thanks
so if you do, so as a reminder, and we see there is one there to go to in a bit. If you are putting things in the chat, we're going to go to the chat at the end. And if you want to guarantee a message is read, then please consider dropping in a super chat, and then that will be something we go to at the end to make sure that we read. And I see there's one there. Our first ever super chat has been achieved, John.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave, for that information. Yes, I did notice it coming up, and I thought, wow.
Yes. So we will get to that super chat and a few others in the chat maybe at the end. But if you want to guarantee we get to your chat, chuck in a super chat. We would really appreciate it. It's so we can keep the flow of the show going. Right, John.
Ben.
Come on, then. Talk to me.
Right. So Venezuela wants to apply for the BRICS. Now, we had a conversation about this, and you said, why would anyone want Venezuela to be in their economic trading bloc? How's my audio now?
I answered my own question, didn't I?
Yeah. How is my audio now? It still looks a bit low. What's going on?
So Venezuela have asked to join BRICS, the economic trading bloc, Brazil, China, India, and I did, and I'll go over the thought process that I went through earlier. So I said, why would BRICS accept a country whose toilet paper is currently worth more than their currency? And then it dawned on me, because their toilet paper is worth more than their currency. And that means they can be exploited.
Yes.
Especially by the biggest current colonizers on the planet. Who are they, John?
China.
And
what's Venezuela full of?
Well, it's full of oil, isn't it?
Oil. Yeah.
It's full of oil. And if they were to join BRICS, I think you would see the heads of Venezuela announcing their lovely association via the Belt and Road Initiative, also known as colonization.
Yeah. Right,
They
moving on.
They just call it something else. They just call it something else. They just say, right, it's not colonization. We're not colonizing. Battleground.
So a Russian spy has surfaced after 4 years. 4 years.
Yes.
Since they last saw this Russian spy, and it has literally surfaced again.
Mm-hmm.
The spy is indeed a white beluga.
It is. It is.
For those that don't know, a beluga is a whale.
And the next story is actually remaining on theme.
And it's got this kind of device strapped at its neck so that it can spy on things. So I assume this has been trained. Probably Ed might be able to fill us in on this tomorrow night when we do Down the Rabbit Hole with Ed the Techie.
That's correct.
And myself.
Tomorrow night at 9 p.m.
Tomorrow night at 9 p.m. we will be examining the bottom of the world, that is, when Admiral Byrd took quite a substantial amount of military power down to Antarctica and came back early for some reason. But we'll find out about that tomorrow night.
I may indeed moderate in the chat. I might not. We'll see.
Okay. So anyway, so this Russian beluga spy has resurfaced. God knows where he's been for the last 4 years.
Making babies, John. Making babies.
Possibly, yeah. Just get fed up and then thought, I've been called up. I'm back into it. He's been called up with a wee tingling in his neck. Zzz, zzz, zzz. They'll send him pulses and they'll go, the boys need me. I'm coming back. In fact,
we need to send whale.
It's gonna
look for nuclear submarine.
It's going to have to do a meme for that one.
I think so. I think we will have to invite Ed. And just a reminder about Down the Rabbit Hole, John. You do a wonderful job with that show, by the way.
Thank you.
When that show is aired and when the theories being looked at are spoken about, people must remember they are just that. They are theories. Yeah. You're not stating anything as fact. You are just looking at what other people have said and bringing that to the fore. Now, once again, as with this show, you can make your own decisions as to what you believe based upon the evidence that's presented to you. And I'm really starting to enjoy it. I thought last month's episode was really good, actually.
Yeah,
I think you found your flow. I do.
Yeah. Yeah, without you.
Yeah, no, actually, because I think too many cooks spoil the broth when it comes to a show like that.
Yes, it can do.
And so I think you've really found your flow, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm actually looking forward to tomorrow's episode. I will definitely be there in the chat. But you won't answer me unless I pay you money, will you?
I shall ignore you.
I suppose in doing so, I get half the money back. So
yeah, it's like when you work for the council.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they pay you money and then you pay them 20% back for the pleasure of working for them.
I'll drink to that. Speaking of aquatic animals and whales in particular, what's going on with the orcas?
Well, apparently there's a pod near Gibraltar, right, that have decided to start attacking boats. Small boats in general, sailboats in particular, and have sunk a couple, in fact.
They have. They've been doing it consistently at the moment, haven't they?
Gladys has been singled out as the ringleader, right? So Gladys, a female orca, apparently was the first one to start this bizarre behaviour of sinking boats. And has been teaching the other whales how to do it. Now, I don't know why. Maybe someone on a boat upset Gladys and she's taking revenge.
I think that might be the case. Maybe those who own the insidious SeaWorld parks tried to kidnap Gladys.
But then again, you have to remember that there is a clue in the name of these things if you go with the other alternative name, which is not orca and is indeed killer whale.
Killer whale.
Because these things are effectively the wolves of the sea.
They are. I'll tell you what. They can be trained, and they can be trained to do some beautiful tricks. I've seen them. I've seen them up close.
Yeah,
They are
but they're
beautiful,
still wild
beautiful
animals.
creatures. You know, there's a dolphin that looks exactly like a killer whale. It's called a Commerson's dolphin, and it looks exactly like it's got the same type of markings, and they are also really beautiful. I don't know what it is about the way that killer whales and Commersons look, but my God, if one came attacking my boat, I'd just go, "Aw," as it came towards me,
Have you
and
seen
then go,
the amount
"Oh
of teeth
crap!"
they've got though?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like
Yeah.
it's like you'd be going, oh, I'd be going, oh, not
And,
all.
and ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you indeed love or like killer whales, then leave a like on the show. Just let us know. Let us know.
Okay.
See what I did there? See what I did there, John?
Mm-hmm.
See what I did there?
Yeah, so I never found out though if the whales actually killed the people. I don't think they killed the people. They just sunk the boats.
Yeah, they just pissed off with the boats, John.
Yeah,
They just don't like
maybe
the boats.
somebody rammed one with a boat or something. Mind you, I mean, these
I'm
things are
thinking
fast.
that's what probably happened. I
Yeah.
am. I'm thinking that's what probably happened. Anyway, let's move out of the water. Do we have anything else for
Well,
the
I've got
agenda
one
this evening,
thing.
John?
I've got one thing from Canada.
Oh, Canada.
So apparently, and we all know climate change occurs, right? So climate change occurs, and climate change occurs on a daily basis,
Absolutely, it does.
right? I have no problem with climate change.
Nope.
I just find it difficult to understand how climate change causes some things, and apparently, the Canadians have come up with a study that says that climate change is causing witchcraft. Because people have become, hold on, hear me out. People have become so disillusioned that not being able to do anything about the climate change that they have turned to witchcraft to try and stop climate change. So there's been a massive increase in the amount of witches and people practicing witchcraft in Canada, and it's down to climate change. You can't make this up. You don't need to be a comedian. All you need to do is read the news. So, I'll tell you what, people, if you've enjoyed this show, let us know and comment, because interaction really helps. See if you find the fact that we're not in the chat off-putting, or you don't like it or whatever, then come back at us. Let us know what's happening, because we read everything. We read everything eventually.
Eventually.
Don't think we're going to come back at you within 5 minutes, because that's not how things work. but we
I
will
think
come
it's
back
time.
to you at some point.
Let's go to the chat now.
Yeah, okay.
Let's go to the chat. How do I find that super chat? There is a way to find them.
Shalini Varma,
I can't.
£5. Cheers to the boys. Whoop! Shamrock. So
I can't
is
see
that
it,
cheers to
but-
us, the boys, or is that cheers to Celtic, who I believe won the other day?
Or is it cheers to the male species of the planet?
I don't know. She's been quite generous in her terms. But thank you,
Yeah.
and we really appreciate that, Shalini. Thank you very much.
We really do. We appreciate the
This
£5 and
Greta
2
is a witch. No, sorry,
So, yeah,
Greta's a troll. Greta's a troll.
Oh,
It's cheers to us. Thank you.
thank you.
Our
And thank
little
you.
Irish bird.
Thank you very, very much. We really do appreciate it. In fact, the donations accrued this month bought me a new video editor, didn't they, John?
Yes, they did. I don't know
And that
why.
was my
You could
half
have
of
got
it.
one for
I
free, but you're obsessed with it.
because I wanted a proper one.
Yeah, okay.
I wanted a proper one. So
So DaVinci
thank
Resolve
you
isn't a
for-
proper one.
For you, maybe. For you, maybe. I don't want that shite.
Just because you can't work.
I don't like it.
Oh,
I don't like it.
There might be a new person coming on the show. Him's pal. Remember? Told you about him yesterday.
You did.
I haven't decided on his name yet, but it'll start with an A.
I've sent you a new video actually for Himza.
Did you? When
yeah,
did you
just
send
did
it?
about 10 minutes. About 10 minutes ago.
Don't
sent
send
you on
stuff
Twitter.
during the show.
Well, it came up in front of me, and I thought I have to send in that.
Okay.
Because Scottish government is trending, John.
Oh, good grief. The Scottish government's not trendy. No, it's not Adam. It's not. It's a Scottish person in the line of Himza. So, another face for you to mock and enjoy.
There's the super chat, yeah.
Yeah, it stands out. It does stand out. It's very green. Can we set the colour? Who sets the colour? Who sets the colour? Did you set
YouTube
the colour?
does.
Oh, YouTube.
No, YouTube does. There's different colour tiers for the amount of money that comes through.
Did Tate,
So,
was Shalini ever a moderator?
She is now.
Well,
I
did you just make her one?
I did. I just realised she wasn't one, so I made her one.
I think Vaughn took her off.
She was a moderator, wasn't she? And
Yeah.
he did say he was going to take
I
her.
think Vaughn took her off.
Oh,
Bad Vaughn.
the plot thickens. I mean, Shalini says he's asleep right now. So if I were you, what I'd do is go to the kitchen, go and fill a pan with water, and then use your imagination. That's what I'd do.
Just put his hand in it.
Just drop his fingers in it.
Drop his fingers in the pan of water.
Put his fingers in there. Leave them there.
Make sure you
Set it again.
Make sure you've got a rubber sheet on the couch though.
Yeah. But for future reference, thank you again. We really do appreciate the super chat. First one we've ever got. So thank you so much. But when we go to the chat, you are a star. But when we go to the chat, if you want to guarantee that we interact with you, if you've got a question or anything like that, if you could do it in the form of a super chat, that means that we're definitely going to get to it. So thank you for that.
Adam says
so
you could have a special dossier on the shelf of some operative at GCHQ. He's probably
that's right. Almost definite.
Yeah. And
it's probably my fault as well. Probably more my fault than it is yours, John.
Yeah, probably. Oh,
probably
Trudy's
indeed.
Hi, Trudy.
I thought Trudy went to bed.
Oh,
she says she'll catch up with the rest of it tomorrow.
All right, okay.
But I'll go to Julie. Julie says, cauldron's at the ready, folks. Cauldron's at the ready.
I've got a cauldron.
Oh, you haven't?
I've
got to film a skit, John.
Hubble bubble. Hubble bubble, toil and trouble.
Make sure the climate doesn't turn us to rubble.
Yeah, we could do something like the scene from Macbeth.
Indeed you could. Indeed you could. Now, if you've enjoyed this little look at the news tonight, then don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already. Please subscribe. And the most important thing you can do, and it costs no money at all, hit that share button. Send it out to all of your friends on social media. Doesn't just have to be Twitter, can be Facebook, can be anywhere. And tell people we're having a good laugh here, we're having a good time here 3 to 4 times a week. And it's all in good taste, and hopefully people learn something. But as I always say, don't believe a word we have said tonight. Go out, do your own research, look at multiple sources, and draw your own conclusions. Over to you, John.
Well, thank you, Ben, and thank you all for attending this episode 223 of Chasing Dissent Live. As always, it's been great. For you.
For you.
You can see the writing on the pavement. Young kids, they're growing up in basements. Online, a whole new generation. I'ma make mine, so you better go take it. Always they need a new replacement. demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive.